You always just want to be eating good foods. It's my number one rule of nutrition. Good foods are the real foods of the world. They're so-called whole foods, so typically foods that only contain one ingredient, which is the food itself. Hence why it is a real food. So it's stuff like Greek yogurt, avocado, nuts, seeds, berries, fish, olive oil, sweet potatoes, quinoa, oats, legumes, leafy greens, different vegetables, so on and so forth. To keep it simple for myself, I just personally eat different meats, which include eggs, different vegetables, and then different complex carbohydrates. And if you just eat those three categories of food, and you can make thousands of different meals from those foods alone, that's really it. That's good foods. That's the foods you want to be eating. And the reason these foods are the good foods of the world, is because they're all high in micronutrients, which is the vitamins and minerals of the world, as well as typically being high in fiber, which is great for your gut. They're also, although not always, high in things like protein, but overall gives your body all the macronutrients your body needs in proper amounts as well. So you get both your micronutrients and macronutrients, which are all the nutrients your body needs in order to function properly and optimally. Good foods also actually fill you up, which makes it easy to automatically maintain a healthy weight. It keeps you satiated easily, in other words. So you don't have to track calories when you eat these foods either. You don't have to track macros, you don't have to track calories. Good foods are essentially just the foods humans have evolved into eating over the hundreds of thousands of years we've existed, or about 300,000 to 400,000 years I believe we've been around, Homo sapiens. Hence why they are healthy and help you function properly. They're just the foods, the things that our species have evolved into eating, right? That's what we've been eating for the vast majority of our existence. Bad foods are the opposite of this. They contain little when it comes to nutrients, so macronutrients and micronutrients, and are very calorically dense, addictive, and not very satiating, because they're filled with sugar and fats, hence why they easily make you fat, right? And sugar and fat is not bad. The problem with sugar and fat, or the primary problem, is just that they're very calorically dense, and sugar especially is super addictive. So it's just super easy to just eat thousands of calories of sugar and fat, because they don't satiate your body, because they don't contain any fiber and stuff or nutrients, right? Bad foods are really everything that's processed, typically with a long ingredient list on the back. So it's stuff like candy, chips, all fast food, a lot of fitness supplements as well, like protein bars and shakes and stuff, as well as a lot of breakfast products. They hijack our survival system of seeking out highly caloric foods, as that meant a larger chance of survival throughout most of our existence. Throughout 99.9% literally of human existence, food has been very scarce. So if you found a pizza, in theory, if you were a hunter-gatherer, they're just laying a fucking Domino's pizza over there by the tree, then that would be very beneficial for you, because it contains a lot of energy, which is going to help you stay alive. But today, these foods are everywhere. We have so much abundance that we have the opposite problem today of actually having to consciously avoid what we've, throughout most of our existence, been drawn towards. Hence why we eat these foods, right? They feel good. And I mean, this doesn't mean that you can't eat these foods ever. Just eat good foods most of the time, which means 95% of the time. I mean, ideally all the time, but that's not realistic for most. Some would argue that these bad foods should be eaten when bulking, to gain weight, most of which you want to be muscle probably, faster, although this is wrong on so many levels. As soon as someone recommends you to eat crap in order to gain weight, there's something wrong. The only thing that's right about this is the fact that these foods make it super easy to eat in a calorie surplus, because they're inherently addictive and full of sugar and fat. But this surplus shouldn't be very large. You don't actually want to eat that much more food when you're bulking, as most of the weight you're going to put on if you eat in a massive surplus is just going to be fat, and not much more muscle than you would build if you just only ate in a slight surplus. The most important thing to remember when it comes to bulking is that you can only build muscle so fast. Eating more food, especially when it's just junk, to speed this up is not going to help you in any way, shape, or form when it comes to actually building muscle and strength. Because your body can only transform so much of the excess energy, which is calories you take in, into muscle. The rest of it's just going to become fat on your body. In other words, you only want to take in enough energy, so enough calories, enough food, to build extra muscle, not gain extra fat, which looks like, to be technical here, 200 to 400 calories. This is about 2 eggs and a piece of bread. That's 200 calories. So it's not a lot of food. Like, this should not be that difficult to eat in for most people. So if you have to eat junk food in order to bulk, you're eating too much food most likely. Another thing about eating bad foods when bulking is that it's just inherently unhealthy, because these foods contain little to no nutrients that your body actually needs in order to function and operate properly. That's why you are going to feel like crap, you're going to have worse training sessions, you're going to sleep worse, all of which are important for making gains. Training properly, sleeping properly, these are arguably just as important as eating properly, right? You're just overall just going to feel like crap and just perform like crap, or at least way worse than you would otherwise if you ate good foods, when you just eat these crappy foods consistently. So in my opinion, or this is not really my opinion, this is very substantial evidence-based fact, is that eating shitty foods is not the right way of eating. You are what you eat. Remember that always. There's a lot of wisdom in some of these very simple old sayings, right? So the summary of this video is that you want to eat good foods and avoid eating bad foods. You'll essentially get all the nutrients your body needs automatically, as well as hit your daily calorie intake by eating just good foods. Like, just doing this one thing is going to take care of all of that you would otherwise track. Calories, macronutrients, micronutrients, whatever. If you want to gain muscle and strength faster, just eat a little more of these foods than normally, because you don't want to eat in a massive surplus, because you're just going to get fat. So if you want to bulk, you just eat a little more of these foods, okay? This is 90% of nutrition. If you can just follow this one simple rule, you are on the right track, and you just want to remain here and stay patient, really.